our next episode of Will County Justice. Obviously, we're not in the studio today because this month's episode, or episodes I should say, is going to be a trip to the courthouse. In these episodes, what we're going to try to do is to take you through the process of coming to the courthouse, show you some of the interesting areas of the courthouse, and show you some of the secret spots that no one else gets to see. This building behind me here is the place where all of the lawyers in Will County, where what we call justice is meted out on a regular basis. And I think it's important that our citizens get a connection to our courthouse community, is what we call it. And I welcome you, and I hope you'll be interested in our show. The first thing I want to start out by saying is, if you have to come down to the courthouse, there are some very specific spots where you want to park. The first place to park is to my right here, which is the courthouse parking lot. It fills up relatively quickly in the morning. If you get here past about 8:45, you're going to have to find alternate parking. Please know, if you park in a metered spot, you're going to have to keep that meter fed or you're going to get a ticket relatively quick. If you park in a no parking zone, you're going to get a ticket very, very quickly. There are two good parking spots, or parking lots, I should say, if you're going to come down to the courthouse. The first is on Chicago Street, very close, just a half a block away. The other one is at Clinton and Chicago. And that's a street, that's a parking deck there. Both of those decks are important. They're going to get you in court on time. Just a quick reminder to criminal defendants, if you are suspended or revoked, do not drive to court, because we will follow you out to your car and you will be caught and you'll be charged with driving on a suspended or driving on a revoked driver's license. So, with the permission of the Chief Judge, which is the only way we can bring cameras into the courthouse, let's go into the courthouse. We are at the security station of the Will County Courthouse, and we have three of the deputies that work security on a daily basis here. We have John Bazzani, Keith Miller, and next to me is Rich Willis. And we're going to ask him a few questions about what citizens should do when they come to the courthouse as far as going through security is concerned. And good afternoon, Rich.
Good afternoon.
Now, I'm going to ask you just a few questions. The first thing is, when the citizen comes to the courthouse, whether it's a traffic ticket or the worst felony case we might have, does everyone have to go through security?
Yes, they do.
Okay. As people begin to go through security, as the people that do the screening, what are the items that you do not want people to have when they come to the courthouse?
Well, anything that can be used as a weapon, any belts that are solid metal that go all the way around, hats with bills, beaks, or visors on them. Does signify, gang, some of them tilted to one side or another, so Chief Judge don't want it.
I've noticed in my years here that if someone walks in with a hat, I'll hear the deputies will say, take that hat off. What is the reason why we don't allow individuals to wear hats here in the courthouse?
This is like you say, signifies gangs and stuff like that.
So a different color,
to one side or another, or a different color.
And then it aggravates situations, I take it, in the courthouse. What were some of the more interesting things you found on people as they come through security here in the...
Find a lot of knives, tape recorders, a lot of mace. One lady, the Deputy Miller, and deputies earlier, before I got here, caught with a single-shot shotgun in her purse.
Holy cow. Now, one of the things that a lot of citizens don't understand is how big the line is in the morning as you come into court. How many individuals does security handle, say, in one court day? How many people do you have come through security here?
On the average, anywhere from 2,600 to 2,800 people a day come through.
That's 2,800 people that are searched to determine that there are no weapons on them individually. Every single person is searched.
That's correct.
Okay.
This is not a restaurant. You don't want to bring food or drinks in here.
Okay.
Don't want to wear a hat with a big visor or bill on it. You don't want to bring a knife, tape recorder, or anything that we don't allow, any tools or anything that be used for a weapon. The judges don't like tank top shirts worn. You have to be dressed in a proper attire when you go to court.
Right. Thank you for saying that. There's a lot of folks that don't understand that and don't appreciate that. But thank you very much, guys.
Sir.
We're in the office of brand new Sheriff Paul Kopis, and I thought it would be something that everyone would like to see, the inside of the Sheriff's office, which is located on the first floor of the courthouse. Sheriff, welcome to Will County Justice.
Thank you very much. Welcome to my office.
I don't know how happy the sheriff is about having us in his office, but it is a place which the taxpayers, I think, would want to see. Sheriff, you've been in office now for a couple months. How's it feel to be the sheriff? Although you've been an employee or practically every office in the sheriff's department for a long time. How's it feel to be sheriff?
Well, I mean, to be truthful with you,
sure.
It was kind of anticlimactic after the campaign. I mean, it's a job. That's all it is. It's just a job.
How long have you been with the sheriff's department?
29 years. Okay. So, I mean, I'm pretty much familiar with everything that the office is supposed to do. It's just learning how to get it done now, that's all.
How many times you figure you've sat in this office with another sheriff sitting in that chair and you sitting where I'm sitting right now?
Oh, goes back to Trisna, Shelley, Johnson, Fitzgerald, Ward. Most of the time was for good. A couple times was to be admonished.
Oh, really? Okay, well, that happens occasionally. One of the things I wanted to ask you, we're just going to be here for a few minutes to get you back on track, but what's your plans for your first year in office? Do you have some initiatives that you started already that you look forward to starting in the next few months?
Yeah, we did. We have all the staff in place now. We've had command meetings every week. We even had one on New Year's Eve to get the things done. We've got to move with the Merit Commission to get some policies changed, to speed up the testing for the correctional officers in the jail. When we're going for the expansion, we're going to need probably 90 more. We need presently approximately 42 more. And then I want to go for the promotional exam for the career path for them, though that's probably the priority at this time, is the corrections hiring and the promotions and expansion on the jail.
Okay. One of the last questions I wanted to ask you, and it's just a brief one, because one of the focuses of our show is what do the citizens do when they have contact with people in law enforcement. And you know, occasionally I know the Sheriff's Department with their fugitive unit executes most of the warrants that are left outstanding for failures to appear. If an individual has knowledge that they have an outstanding warrant for a failure to appear, what would you recommend a citizen do to get themselves back in the system and back before the court?
Well, historically, I mean, with the Sheriff's Office and the warrants, if you become aware that one is outstanding for you, all you have to do is call the Warrant Division. You can make arrangements to give yourself up to the Warrant Division. Make arrangements when you have the bond money ready, or even make arrangements with an attorney to have you taken to court. So you can call the Sheriff's Office and make these arrangements, not be afraid that they're going to come get you just because you call them. I mean, a lot of that is done all the time, especially with a lot of misdemeanors that they're not aware of.
On behalf of the citizens, I'm going to ask a favor of you, if you wouldn't mind. One of the places in the courthouse that I think is most interesting and has some of the most history is our old jail, which is down in the basement. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind giving our viewers a tour of the old jail.
Well, we used to call it dungeon.
Thank you. Well, would you give our citizens a tour of what we now call the old dungeon?
We'll take a walk down there. I spent some time down there over the years.
Thank you,
long
Sheriff.
time ago.
We're in what used to be called the Will County Jail. And I have to tell you one quick story before we get started. As a young prosecutor, when I was first put on felonies, occasionally, in fact, more than occasionally, we'd get a motion from the defense attorney saying that the defendant wanted to plead guilty early. We could never really understand why the defendant wanted to get his case up early into court to plead guilty if they were going to prison. Well, the bottom line, what I ultimately learned was the reason they used to plead guilty was to get out of here and get into the Department of Corrections because there was a better atmosphere there than there was here in the Will County Jail. I'm here with Sheriff Kopis, and he's going to give us a tour of the old jail. And Sheriff, where are we right now?
We're what they used to call the drug tank. Years ago, there was no bunks in here at all. This was just bare floor. And when a person was brought in, he would come into this area here before assigned to east of West Rings. And the reason it was called the drug tank is, of course, any of them were sick or they acted up while they were in here. We used to have a switch on the wall, we could hit it, and this fountain of water would come out of the floor, and it basically sanitized the area and the people, and it's pretty much stopped all the problems that you might have had at that one shot. So.
Now, one of the things I want to make clear to everybody, because you might not get the perspective here with this camera, but one simple question. Are there any windows in the old Will County Jail? Are there any windows in this jail facility?
No windows. There used to be skylight, but after the escape back 15, 20, 25 years ago, they took them out also.
So the individuals that would be in custody here, if they were in custody, for example, for a year, they would not see, literally, not see the light of day for an entire year.
24/7.
Now, could you just show us a little bit about this cell here? I noticed behind us we have a commode, and that's a public commode.
Basically stainless steel. The shower was add-on years ago, along with the bunks. There was no shower here at that time also. You had the showers in the individual cells, but all the commodes are stainless steel. Of course, there's no working parts, so they can't take them apart. And basically all you had was the commode in a populated area that was pretty much in the public view.
And would the the inmates sleep in this room if they were intoxicated when they came in?
They were issued 2 blankets to come into this room and stay until such time they were classified for east of the west wing. There were times that I recall that there would be up to 30 people in this room.
In this room we're in right now?
In this room right here, 30 people.
Okay. And so what's in the corner there is not a spa, that's a shower then, I take it, huh?
That was added some years later when they were still housing people down here because they needed more space. And before we built the new adult detention facility.
Okay, Sheriff Kopus, where are we right now?
We're presently in the old jail, the old facility, the basement of the courthouse. We're in what they used to call 8B, cell 8B. We're presently in the sleeping quarters, which is an individual room which is also locked down at night, where they had the general or the day area that they used to go to during the day.
Now, you used the term general population. What does that mean?
That's an area that's designated where all the inmates at that one location can congregate, socialize, or be together. Unlike other terms that are used, isolation, and that kind of stuff when they're separated from the general population.
And the reason you would separate an inmate from general population would be what?
Several reasons. The isolation or the segregation would be because of protection. It could be because of discipline. It could be of special medical concern.
Now, one of the things we noticed coming down here is the fact that this has just been freshly painted. Do you have plans for the old dungeon?
The place is still utilized. We have video arraignment over at the jail. So the prisoners that are going for a arraignment for a bond hearing on a new charge don't have to come to the jail or the courthouse. But the people that are going to court or having their trials, they have to come to the courthouse. So we have to have a place to keep those people in the courtroom. So we still utilize the bottom floor of the courthouse. East side is usually for county prisoners, and the west side is usually used for Department of Corrections.
What was the capacity of the old jail, where we're at right now?
The old jail population, I think, was maxed at 104.
And how many, what was the most highest population you ever remember down here in the old jail?
Maxed at 104, which was really pushing it. I remember populations 150, 160.
Okay.
But we didn't have the room to move these people around and down here. We just didn't have the space.
What is the population of the new jail right now?
Population, average daily population is around 450. And we're overcrowded there also now. The original plans that was built, or the original plans for that facility was supposed to be 500. At the time they built it approximately 14 years ago, they only built it for 320.
How many, in your times at the Sheriff's Department, how many people would sleep in, for example, this room?
Well, you see 4 bunks. So that's definitely 4 there, but toward the end, before we had the new facility, you'd have 2 more people on the floor where we had on mattresses, and you could have a 3rd one over here. So, I mean, these cells were overflowing. These cells were overflowing.
And just a couple of things, we're going quite a bit here, but as far as food is concerned, all right, if you're a prisoner in the old Will County Jail, where do you, how do you get your food and how do you eat? How does that work?
Well, what they would do is, if when we walk out here, you'll see the front cells, we have a tray opening that's built into the bars. I mean, they didn't leave the cell. We would bring the food on trays with the trustees, and we'd individually hand each prisoner his tray, his tin tray with silverware and his cup, and that's how he ate. Then when they were done, they would slide them underneath the cells in line with everything on that tray because we had to take a count. Had to have silverware count, tray count, cup count. Didn't get a count, then there was discipline.
Okay, so the prisoners that were in a cell like this, the only times they would be taken out during their incarceration period would be to go to court?
Court, visiting rooms were separate in this facility, unlike the new facility where they never leave. And occasionally they would get a phone call.
When was this facility shut down?
Approximately 14 years ago, under Sheriff Johnson. Because I remember I was head of the detail that made the transfer of prisoners from this old facility to the new facility.
Okay. Sheriff, we're in an area where we have a couple cells which are a little different than any other cells we've seen so far in the old jail in the basement of the courthouse. Could you tell us where we're at right now?
We're present in what they used to call 5A, 5B. This was segregation discipline. This was the pride of the jail at that time. You just have a solitary room, steel doors, got a tray up on the door. They never left the rooms. If they did become a little bit more favorable to the rules, we would let them take a shower, and then they would, of course, go right back into the room. There were times that we had more than one person in one of these cells.
So this is the area where discipline problems would be. This is what we would call solitary confinement.
This is what we used to term years ago solitary confinement.
And these rooms would hold occasionally 2 people in solitary together.
In each room, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the longest period you can remember anyone having to serve solitary?
It was daily reviewed by the watch commander down here. I mean, a lieutenant could put anybody in here, but then he would have to write a letter to the warden, justify why he was in here, and then there would be some kind of a sentence on a sentence put down, so how long he'd be in here until he conformed to the rules.
Okay. Thank you, Sheriff. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're still in the first floor of the courthouse here. I just want to show you where some of the courtrooms are located. For most citizens that have to come to the courthouse, they'll be in traffic court, other than jury duty. That's room 121, and that is a courtroom that handles our traffic cases, minor traffic offenses such as speeding, seat belts, insurance. That is small claims court. To our left, those are cases where if citizens have a dispute over a money issue of less than $1,500, it'll be heard in that particular courtroom. And around the corner here, if you could follow me for a second, is presently room 100 is our domestic violence court call. That's where orders of protection are heard and where our domestic violence cases are presently held to trial. So that's our first floor. There's one other spot I'd like to show you if you'll follow me for one more minute. Okay. If you get stuck at the courthouse for an extended period of time, one place you're going to need to know is what we used to call the cafeteria. It's really just a coffee shop. We have some vending machines and some tables here where at the end of the day it's usually very clean, but it's the end of the court day, so you're going to see it's a little, but this is a place where you could hang out, read the paper, have a pop if you are on jury duty or if you have to be stuck at the courthouse for a while. It's a coffee shop. Let's go up to the second floor.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am
An American.
I am an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I helped turn my child's public school into one with extended hours, 6 days a week year-round, filled with loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One with medical and dental services right there. A school where students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. Turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the second floor of the courthouse. I just want to point out a few things here on this particular floor. We've got 2 windows here where if you plead guilty or are found guilty in traffic court, this is where you have to go to pay your fine. It's on the second floor of the courthouse, so you come upstairs and you go to one of these 2 windows to my right and my left to pay your fine and cost. Now, as we move this way, this is the clerk's office. All of the business that's conducted with the court is conducted through the circuit clerk's office. Pam McGuire is our circuit court clerk. She has, as you can see, several windows available for individuals to walk up. Some of the windows are for attorneys only and some of them for the general public. But it's Pam's office that handles all of the paperwork that passes through the court's office. One last spot I wanted to talk to you about the second floor is our little area in the corner here, which is called the order of protection area. It's one of the most important areas of the courthouse. It's an area which I'm very hopeful with Maria here that's going to be much larger in the future. Maria?
Hi, how are you?
Welcome to Will County
Thank
Justice.
you.
Maria is one of the volunteers that help fill out orders of protection here for our court system. They assist individuals who come and need protection. Could you tell us about how many people a day you guys handle here in the corner for orders of protection, roughly?
It varies. Like on yesterday, Monday, we had 12 people who came in for orders of protection, who myself or other people here that work with us assisted. Sometimes it could be more than that, less than that. It all depends.
If a person comes to the courthouse wanting an order of protection, where should they go? Right here on the second floor?
Yes, they need to come in, sign in, and then one of us will assist them with the paperwork.
Okay, you have a book where you sign in and you take people in
Yes.
the order that they come in.
Yes, we do.
Now, what kind of information would you want an individual to come in when they come to see you? And you prepare the paperwork, and then you have to go in front of a judge, correct?
Yes, they should always have an address as to where the person can be served at, their birth date, the correct characteristics, height, weight, hair color.
Okay, how about location as far as purpose of finding where they're at for service?
The residence, place of employment, that would help. Their whereabouts, that would help. as well.
After you prepare the paperwork, where do you go next?
We go to the circuit clerk's office, and at the circuit clerk's office it gets filed, it's given a case number, and from there then we take it to the judge, and then they will see a judge after that.
And that's where the petitions are presented before a judge?
Correct.
And the judge at that time either grants or denies the request for an order of protection?
There's three things that happen with the orders of protection. It could be granted, set for hearing, or denied.
Okay. And you work here with, who else do you work? I know Rose Hensley is in charge
Sophia Lopez, and we had two advocates from Groundwork that help us tremendously. Her name is Elizabeth and Todd.
And I just want to say on behalf of the State's Attorney's Office that I'm so glad that we're able to allow our citizens to see what happens in this little corner of the courthouse, because these are people who are really on the front lines in our battle against domestic violence. These are our local heroes that we have in our county, and they're people that every citizen should be proud of. Now, this is truly a spot in the Will County Courthouse that very, very few people ever have a chance to see. You are in, right now, the grand jury hearing room of the Will County Courthouse. Now, the grand jury is, there are two ways that an individual who's charged with a felony can be held over for trial in Illinois. One of them is if there's a preliminary hearing finding probable cause. The other is if a grand jury indicts on a finding of probable cause. The reason why this is such a secret room is grand juries are a secret proceeding. What happens in this room is not allowed to go outside of this room unless there's an indictment that is handed down, and that becomes a public record. A little bit about how it works. There's a foreman of the grand jury who sits behind here. The foreman presides over the grand jury, and also swears in the witnesses. The witnesses then sit in this chair, and they are questioned by the prosecutors handling grand jury matters from this particular podium. There are 16 citizens that sit in the chairs behind you. They then, after the testimony is over, we leave the room. They vote on whether they're going to pass what's called a true bill, which means a true bill of indictment, or if they're going to pass what's called a no bill, which means they do not find probable cause to believe that the individual accused committed the crime. You'll notice we have a couple flags here, but there's a very, very important sign on the wall I'd last like to show everyone. If you take a look at this, statutorily, we are required to notify individuals of what is contained on the wall there, and to tell the grand jury that they have the right to look at any documents that are subpoenaed, and they have the right to obviously conduct their affairs as grand jurors. So this is this room is not going to be here much longer, but for purposes of Will County, there's a lot of history that's made in this room, but no one can talk about it. It's a secret proceeding, but I thought you might want to see it. No trip to the courthouse would be complete without talking to the individual who runs the courthouse. Now, the chief judge, obviously, is in control of all affairs in the courthouse, but he has to have someone who does the day-to-day operations. That's who we have with us right here. That's Kurt Sangmeister. He's the court administrator. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Kurt, tell us a little bit about what you do as court administrator.
Well, as court administrator, I assist the chief judge in some of the administrative matters, some of the behind-the-scenes things that take place at the courthouse. We have a lot of legislation and so forth that goes through the county board. Normally, I would be a person that would be involved in shepherding that. I also interface with many other offices, the state's attorney's office, the circuit clerk's office, and we manage budgets and personnel and things of this nature.
Along the lines of determining what the budget's going to be and how many people you're going to need, you have to know how much action or how many cases are passing through the courthouse here.
Yeah.
Can you give our citizens an idea of the volume that we're dealing with here in Will County?
Well, as you know, Jeff, volume is growing by leaps and bounds every day in Will County. I think we're up over 500,000 people now. And the stats, I just happened to look at them the other day. We have over 19,000 civil filings here in Will County alone, and I believe over 7,200 criminal cases. So, and that's a marked change over 5 years ago, and especially on the civil side, I know there's a large number of filings over and above what we've done in the past year. So one of the main problems that we're facing out here in Will County is keeping up with the growth and trying to stay ahead of the curve.
And this is one of the things I wanted to ask you last is, what are some of the major focuses that we have? Our chief judge, who we're going to be seeing a little later, Steve White, what are the major projects or the focuses that you guys are working on right now?
Well, recently we've enacted a neutral site custody exchange center over at the River Valley Justice Center. We certainly have a lot of matters, administrative matters, dealing with the River Valley Justice Center. we're trying to build and acquire new properties and facilities here in Will County so that we can have additional courtrooms and accommodate additional judges and personnel that we're going to need in the future, and just be an example of some things that we have going on here.
I know there's a study of space needs being conducted right now for determining what to do with how much space we need. How long do you think this present courthouse setting is going to satisfy our needs?
Well, it could be argued, I suppose, that it's not satisfying our needs now. We have a space study that was commissioned last year. We hope to have a document in our hand within the next month or two that will kind of outline what kind of space we already have in the county, what kind of space that we're going to have, that we're going to need in the future, projecting out our population, whether or not we have our airport built down in Peatone or not. And in that way, we'll know whether or not we should go with a, one large type court building, whether or not we should have buildings located in different parts of the county to service people, for instance, in the eastern and the northern parts of the county, or whether or not we should stay near Joliet here, or go out to the west side or in the downtown area. There's all kinds of different directions that it can go, and hopefully we'll have something fairly soon on that.
How many, last question, how many different facilities or locations do you administrate now?
Well,
I know we have the courthouse here.
Yes.
Some of the facilities have been moved over to EMCO,
Yes.
and you also have the arbitration center. Could you tell us a little bit about those places?
Yeah, well, we have the arbitration center where we have the law division call, and we also have arbitration cases heard over there. We have 3 arbitration hearing rooms and a courtroom. We have 2 courtrooms located out at the River Valley Justice Center. The county recently, within the last year, has purchased the EMCO building, which they're in the process of rehabbing, and there's a good likelihood that some court services office are going to be moved in over there, and possibly even some courtrooms. We have a remodeling project here going on at the courthouse where we're building 3 additional courtrooms in areas that used to be chambers and so forth. We've reconfigured some things to wedge in some courtrooms. And we also have some branch courts located in different communities around the county. But those are mostly traffic and ordinance type violation cases. So.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our first half of our tour of the courthouse. This is the old State's Attorney's office. Obviously, you know we're in a new building now, but we'll complete our tour in next month's show. But hope you enjoy your month, and I hope you enjoyed our tour.